Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Coach Dad podcast.
Well done, Austin.
So hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Coach Dad podcast with me, your host Ben. Now on this week's episode, I am going to look at that thing that we all do once, twice, sometimes 3 times a week. That's right, I'm going to look at training. Now I'm going to look at training from the aspect of being a brand new football coach and where did I get my ideas from to put on my very first sessions, how did those early sessions go and what did I learn from them. And I'm going to have a look at a few issues and challenges and things that have come up, things like are the drills and sessions I'm putting on challenging? Are they not challenging enough? Am I doing the right things? I'm going to have a look at things like behaviour issues, especially with a new group of young players and all the challenges that come with it. But before we get to that, I am going to have a look at the week that was football in my household.
This week's football news.
So football this week in my household, there was only one game this week. My oldest boy, Caleb, his team didn't have a scheduled fixture. My youngest lad, Austin, the team I coach, we had a home game against a team called Terrington. Now, Terrington have 2 or 3 teams. We've played the other teams a couple of times each. And this was a team we haven't faced before. The original fixture or the reverse fixture got cancelled due to poor weather. So this was the first time we had actually faced them. Now, with a new team that we've never played before, there's always that sort of hope and enthusiasm that this may be the week we get that positive result. But as the title of this podcast suggests, things didn't exactly go to plan. Now, I had to ref and coach the game this week. I couldn't get a referee. My oldest lad, Caleb, he wasn't really in the right frame of mind to do it, so I took on the duties of reffing and coaching, which I've done a few times before, and I don't mind doing it, to be fair, because it puts me on the pitch for my players and it allows me to give them gentle encouragement as the game goes on. Now, I actually see a Facebook post earlier on like a grassroots page where someone actually said, is it right for a coach to ref a game? Now, first of all, sometimes you have to, because if there isn't a ref and you're at home, you've got to do it. So there's that sort of aspect of it. And I know where he was coming from. He was coming from the angle of should they do it and coach at the same time because it's unfair. I think he was coming from the angle of that this ref was coaching before play had started. So if it was a throw-in, he was telling them to get into position and where to be, etc., etc. Whereas me, I wouldn't do that. I always check with the opposition coach. I like being on the pitch because it helps me give them gentle encouragement, my team. As I said, we've never had a positive result. Most of my boys are new to football this season and can and have only just sort of started playing the game, so they're raw, they're new. So if I can give them any sort of encouragement when a goal goes in or they do something right, you've done well there, lad. Head up, you're doing ever so well. Keep chasing, keep working hard. That's all you've got to do. Think about you know where we are. I wouldn't say you go mark him because that is out of order, really. So I had to ref and coach the game, and the game got off to a fairly good start, to be fair. I won't give you the exact scores or anything like that, but we ended the first quarter only a goal down, which is fantastic for us. I had 9 players this week, so at the break I swapped over the entirety of the outfield team. I actually thought I put on quite a strong team in the second quarter, but from there it went pretty much downhill, and then ended up in a pretty heavy defeat.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Now, I can never fault the boys who turn up week in, week out and give 100%. And I did come away feeling dejected for a couple of hours, to be fair. And it's the first time I've ever sort of had that feeling. And I'm guessing a lot of coaches who are new to it, or coach dads, or anybody really, who sort of, you put in the effort all week, you do the training sessions, and then it did feel like after Christmas, we were making real progress. We had some real close games. We had games where we were scoring a lot of goals in. We were getting close. It felt like the momentum of it and everything was moving in, the forward direction. We were taking 2 steps forward or 3 or 4 steps forward. But it does feel like, for myself, that the last couple of games we've sort of stalled and possibly even gone backwards a little bit, and that's where I have to perhaps look at myself and look at the group and see what I can do better. Essentially, that's the only way we're going to grow. We're going to grow together. I'm new to this season, so I think to go a whole season and get this far into it in the first time, come away from a game really sort of questioning, am I doing the right thing? It's probably a positive thing because it helps you sort of, test and question. You're sort of testing, you're questioning yourself, and I am doing it for the right reasons. I want to win as much as anybody. I don't know, maybe I come off and I thought perhaps the things I'm working on in training ain't coming off. Maybe I've got to tweak a few things. Yeah, like I say, just sometimes it feels like, you're standing still and everyone around you is moving forward, essentially. But after a couple of hours sort of being home and with the family and it all sort of settling down and fading into the background, my thoughts quickly moved to sort of setting up the fixture for the next week coming and thinking, how can I attack the next training session to address the issues where I think we're going wrong? Is addressing the issues really the right thing to say? Are there issues? Not really. Essentially, I've got a bunch of kids who are brand new to football, and I'm coming up against teams that have got that wealth of experience. In my team, I haven't got that one or two players. Like, we come up against teams where they have those 1-2 players who carry their team. They get the ball, they take 3 or 4 on and can shoot. And I just don't have that luxury, unfortunately, in my team. I do have to try and build gradually, week on week, little by little. And like I say, I read a story on Facebook, again, on one of the grassroots pages, where a team, after 5 years from under 7s, they're now under 12s, have finally won their first fixture. So, there's me sort of 8 or 9 months into it feeling dejected for a couple of hours because my boys still haven't felt that joy of victory. But again, after the game, we had penalties and handed out the individual awards for parents player and players player, and for them it was all forgotten. But you do come away thinking, the parents thinking, am I doing the best for their children? Would they be better off better off going elsewhere? Maybe not, I don't know. But like I said in one of the first or second episodes of this podcast, that this is a long-term thing. This is what I've got to work with. It's the hand I've been dealt, and I took it on knowing that. And yeah, I felt dejected. I sort of questioned it all a little bit after the game. And again, I know there's coaches out there I see, again, online on sort of Facebook, there's loads of groups on Facebook. It's like the Grassroots Hub and Coachability and Grassroots Football, and you do get coaches on there and shared posts about why we do it, and we're just volunteers. And you see sort of, I'm an under 7s coach or an under 9s coach, and we've been battered again, I need some help with drills and that. And I don't think there's really too much of a magic sort of wand you can wave. You've literally just got to keep going with what you believe in, keep doing the drills and so forth, and keep working on the basics, because that's what it is with me. I looked at it and I did a training session in the week and I just went back to very basics. We did some very basic ball mastery, some very simple 1-2 passing, and then we had a bit of 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 battles and stuff like that, and nothing over complicated. It was just keeping it nice and light and fun. Apart from it was absolutely hammering it down with rain. But yeah, so I've got to sort of just go with it, take it little by little, and hopefully, as it goes, as time moves on, it'll come good eventually. I'm convinced of it. So yeah, that was it for my boy Austin. For him, I don't have an interview this week. Like I say, I was so dejected after the game that I didn't interview him. He wouldn't have had much to say. We had very little opportunity within the game. There weren't a great deal for him to talk about, to be fair, so we'll leave it at that. So yeah, no interview with him. And as for Caleb, the only sort of news for him this week is that he rang me one day and said he had this sort of epiphany where, can I ask his coach if he can perhaps have a go in goal? Sort of asked him why, and he said he's been playing in goal for his high school team. So didn't know that, to be fair. So I've always had this thing with him about, please don't be a goalkeeper, because I don't know, it's just that position in it where it's a lot of responsibility, and any mistake is sort of, you can be grilled on. I know he's only sort of 11, 12 years old, but much prefer if he played outfield, but he's deciding for the time being he's going to try and play in goal. But I've told him for his football team, his Sunday football team, that I'll ask the question, but I'm hoping that he'll stick with playing out because he has come on so much this year. I think what it is, because I've talked about it, the last 2 or 3 games they've had a couple of defeats. I think it's actually 3 in a row defeats they've had. So I think he's looking for an easy way out, looking for can I play in goal? Then I ain't got to have the responsibility of playing in such a, I ain't got the responsibility of playing outfield and. But it's a tough position. I sort of warned him that if you're going to play in goal, that is a tough position. I don't mind getting him some one-on-one coaching with some of the sort of goalkeeper academies and sort of special coaching sessions that I see online and local to us all the time. But we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it's just a fad and a phase. Maybe that'll sail him by, pass him by, and he can get back to being sort of a tough tackling midfielder, which, like I say, over the last couple of years he's really excelled at, and hopefully he'll continue to want to play there and grow and get better as time goes on. So that was it for this week. Next week I have a home game. It is our last scheduled game of the season. We are at home to a team called Heacham. Again, never played them. I talked to their coach and he said since Christmas they hadn't lost a game. So, it could be a long come shoulder under 8 goals. We could turn them over. We'll see. Optimism's there. But, as I say, it's the last scheduled league game. Then we've got a break for Easter. And then we actually had the league chairman plop a message in the coaches group chat to say that for the games in April now, it's changed a little bit. It's going to be a knockout cup competition. And then once you get knocked out, you'll then just play teams of similar ability, essentially, until the end of April. And then that will be it for the footballing season. And then after that, I'm going to schedule in loads of 7-on-7 games and just get my boys playing as much as I can. I think I said about it on the previous episode where I'm not going to bother with tournaments. I've done tournaments last year with my boys. And honestly, I don't think my group will gain anything from it. As we've seen this season, being 5-a-side, it's a struggle. I want to get my boys prepared. I've offered my parents that if I can't get a game on a Saturday morning, I'm going to put on a training session, and I'm not bothered if 2 people show up or the whole squad. I don't mind doing smaller sessions because then you get a little bit more one-on-one time. But if not, if it's a bigger group, then so be it. Like I say, I'm gonna try and push as much football as possible and get as many games as I can, because that is going to be a big benefit, I believe, to my little team. I need them playing as much as possible, and I'm tired of 5-on-5. As I said in the previous episode, we're ready for 7-on-7. I can put 6 defenders on and we can park the bus.
They didn't play football, they just defend. And as we say now in my country, they brought the bus and they left the bus in front of the goal.
Nah, seriously, I think it's time now. I've got a squad now of 10 and I've got a couple training with me extra, and I lose one over the summer. They're moving away, so I'm going to keep my original team. I'm going to keep the team. I'm not going to look for anybody else. Like I said, unless anybody does know the next Messi or Ronaldo, then fair enough. I may take that extra one on, but I can't see it happening, to be honest. So, yeah, I'm going with the 11 I have. I think 11 is going to be about the right amount. I think, looking back, I may have overcooked it this season. Most of the season I've had 6, 7, 8 players at a game, but the last game, having 9 there, it was a struggle. If I was to have all 10, it would just be I'll be honest, it'd be a bit of a nightmare. And again, the unfair thing about it is brilliant for the lads showing up, but they're not going to get that game time. Obviously, there's only 40 minutes at the moment, and you divide that between 10 of them, they're only getting 20 minutes. Now, that is nowhere near enough. I perhaps should have sort of capped it at 7 or 8. Now, I understand as I said in the first 1 or 2 episodes at the old club where they said they were only taking so many, I can sort of understand that. But the difference is I signed 10, so I'm not excluding nobody. I'm not telling nobody, oh, sorry, no, I'm only going to rotate so many. I'll take everybody to a game. Everybody will get, fair game time. I'm learning from this as I go on. I'm not looking to exclude anybody. It was my idea to sign 10. I gave it. Everyone's had an opportunity to play. I give everyone game time. They all get pretty much the same within reason. Like I say, I do the splits at the break so I can keep an eye on who's what and where. But yeah, so that was my sort of That's my philosophy on it. I'm going to, over the summer, as the season ends, I'm going to look for 7-on-7 games. So that was it for football in my household this week. So as I alluded to at the top of this podcast, this episode is about training, and it's going to focus on looking at the very first training sessions that I did as a brand new football coach. So yeah, just sort of taking you back to the beginning of this season, I'd obviously set up the training session with the parents on the group, told them where it is, when it's going to be. Most of the boys I only knew to sort of say hello to because they school with my little lad, but other than that I had no idea on their footballing ability. So on the very first training session, it was the day I had my cast removed from a snapped Achilles, which obviously I've talked about before. I snapped earlier in the summer and I'd had 3 or 4 months in a cast, and the day I had my first training session, sort of late August, was the very first training session. So at 3 p.m. I was in the hospital getting my cast off, and they gave me a removable boot. Away you go. This will aid your recovery. You'll be along for physio, which actually, I know the NHS is in a bit of a state at the minute, but I'm still waiting on that physio 6 or 7, 8 months later. But yeah, but away I went, and then a couple of hours later, I was then putting on my very first training session for a brand new under-8s youth football team. Now, going into my very first training session, I knew a lot of the lads were going to be new to football. Some had a little bit of experience, so I think looking back, you can perhaps overcook it, maybe over egg it. But for my first training session, I did a lot of looking online, forums, YouTube, and if you're a brand new football coach, go there. Like, if you're new to it, obviously you're not going to have your coaching badges and that, and you're not going to be going through many courses. There's a lot of material out there, but I would say look on the Facebook grassroots coachability, etc. Look on them groups. You'll find loads of details, pictures, drawings. You can just Google it as well, or just go on YouTube and look at under 7s, under 8s, under 9s, whatever age group you're at. Look for drills on there, and you will find plenty. And again, it's an odd one really, because when you're new to it, and you might be enthusiastic and you'll have all these ideas and that, but come sort of 6-7 months into a season, you know where your group's at, and then you'll start to think, well, we need to work on this, so you'll focus more on that, and you'll know where your group are, and if you've got a bit about you, you'll know that what you need to do to take them to the next level. Now, obviously, I've just gone on about how dejected I felt, and am I doing the right thing? Yeah, I believe I am. I'm going to stick with it, and that's what you should do with your coaching. You should know where your boys are at, or your boys and girls are at, and then look to build on it, look to progress. Like thinking, well, in our last game we didn't play out from the back very well. We didn't pass out. We'll just work on that. Like do some sessions on some short passing and turning with the ball and so forth, and build. Like that's the whole point of doing this coaching and trying to build these players. You've got to sort of build on it week on week. So yeah, there's so many resources out there. If you can just sort of tap it into Google, it's at your fingertips. So for the first session that I set up, I thought I'll keep it quite light. Like I say, I haven't got my legs beneath me, so I went for a fairly basic session. I went for Bulldog, which is a fun game for a load of sort of 7 and 8 year olds to play. Bit of Bulldog, some very basic touch pass, side of the foot, get them working on that, and then play a bit of a game. Now, the club that I'm at, we have 2 teams for our age groups. We have the Golds and the Blacks. We're Golds. The Blacks team are the experienced team. They've got a year on us, and they're a very good team. They play at the top division. So the coach at the time, who, when I joined the group, said he's got, he's I talked about this, but he said he's got 20 players and he's just the coach. There's another coach. That's when I stepped in. So obviously he took most of the players that he knew and are experienced and left me with all the new players, which is fair enough. I've got no qualms about that whatsoever. I'm happy for that. That is what I wanted, so I'm happy for that. But yeah, he was there and we sort of had a chat about it, and we said sort of, yeah, we'll go off and do our individual sessions and that, and then but he'll gladly help me out because my foot's in plaster, so he'll do what he can, and then we'll have a little bit of a game. And I thought that's brilliant because then I can actually see where I'm at. So yeah, planned the session out. We did the Bulldog. The boys love that. That's great for a young group. Did some passing, and it was then I realised quite how you know, how much of a journey this is going to be, because I'm watching the team next to us stroke the ball about with some real gusto and vigour, and my boys are toe punting it off to the side. So that's where I was at with it. But it was all fun and games, and then we had the game at the end of the very first session, and it was only sort of 5-10 minutes, and then I decided that from that moment on that I'm not gonna do no training games against them, because we don't benefit from it. And I talked to the manager, and he's fine. Yeah, just we'll go off and do our own things, and we don't have to play a game, or if we do want to play a game, just let him know. But yeah, I decided sort of there and then that there's no benefit for me playing a game against those. I need to focus. I need them extra 10-15 minutes at the end of the session to work on, using the side of your foot to pass the ball, essentially, for like 5 yards, let alone trying to get them all run around playing a game. But yeah, so looking back on that first session, like I say, you can overcook it, you can overthink it, but just try and keep it basic. That's my advice to new coaches out there, or anybody looking to get into this, a volunteer looking to step up to doing coaching. You haven't got to over-egg those first sessions. Just go with the flow. If you've got a team that you're getting involved with that have been playing for a few years, maybe just throw on a little game or something like that at the start, and then you can see where you're at. Or if you have got a brand new team who are sort of under 7s, 8s, 9s, I would just keep it very basic. At that age, they just want fun. So just do fun drills. Look online, fun drills for under 8s, 9s, and you will find them. That would be my sort of go-to advice. Type in what you want: fun drills, passing drills, under 7s, under 8s. You'll find plenty of them, but you haven't got to overthink it. They say, when you're doing your coaching and that it's all about ball mastery at that age. So a lot of time with balls at their feet. Now, looking at some things that have arisen from my training sessions, especially with a group of young boys, they're all young boys, so distraction is a massive thing. So if you're looking to put on a session as a coach, you can plan with all the best will in the world, but you've got to try and keep control of that session, and you'll find out quickly what works best for you in the group. You may have, a couple of disruptive ones in there, and it's not long before one or two can throw off a whole session, and everyone can be messing about. I remember midway through sort of my second or third session where I did start with a small group of 4 or 5, and then as everyone was coming back from school holidays and the season was gearing up, and I had a 1 or 2 join, and I had 7 or 8 there. There was a point where I was not very mobile. I felt like the session was getting away from me, and I hadn't been in this situation before. I thought I knew how to control this, but until you've been there and you don't really know the personality of all these boys that are there, I really thought the session was getting away from me, and I thought, I don't know what I've got myself in for here, and I'm like, whew. But yeah, I come back around. I got on top of it, and I found out what works best for me and my group. Let's face it, they're a bunch of kids, and you'll have this with all grassroots age groups, right up until they're under 16s going up to under 18s. Essentially, they're just kids who are growing and learning. So yeah, you can't you've just got to work with them. It's they are growing little people, and if you can help them with it and you can steer them in the right direction and get them working, then you're doing the right thing. And that's, now I would say I've seen it online again and in Facebook groups that I've got a lad that I can't control. What do I do? Shall I do a system? Shall I speak to parents? How do I go about it? I did think about doing a card system. The other coach of the other team did do a card system, he said, but I've sort of rolled with the punches. I've got my ways, normally just being sort of quite loud, be quick with the instructions. So my advice is minimise time where they're in a queue, where they're not got the ball at their feet, or where they're not doing something, because that's when little boys at that age, their attention span is very small and they stray so quickly. I'm just thinking about the game I had at the weekend. Now, we're in such a rural village surrounded by farmers' fields and pigs' farm. At the weekend, there was a tree felling company, and they were cutting trees and pushing it through one of those big masher up things and spitting out the tree the other end into pulp. And the subs, they weren't warming up, and because I said I was refereeing the game, I couldn't sort of keep my attention on everything. They were sort of standing at the end of the field watching this go on, sort of amazed by it, and I'm like, boys, get back here, you know, like. So that's sort of what you're dealing with sort of 7 and 8 year olds. You gotta try and keep their attention span sort of focused. So when you're doing your training sessions, it's hard because they've all got a ball and they're messing about. So if you've got them in queues waiting to pass or do a drill, then you know that's when they can start messing about, hands on each other, kicking each other's balls away, and it can quickly unravel. So it's all about tailoring your sessions to try and avoid all these things. Like, you might think, well, they shouldn't be doing that, but it's gonna happen, so you've got to deal with it. You've got to be able to sort of approach it and deal with it. And over time I've learned who I have to do what with who, and you'll figure that out. Certain boys are there, they're focused every week, they want to learn, they want to play. Other boys who are there for me, like, I'm not ultimately sure football is for them, but while I'm there coaching them, I will always try and get the best out of them. And if they don't want to play football in a season or two, then fair bit. I've gave them every opportunity. I had it at the start of the season, actually. I had one or two had very bad behavioural issues. They didn't listen, and the parent of one of them said to me, look, I don't think he's quite ready for this yet. And you know, I said, well, fair enough, I'm more than happy for him to keep coming, you know, so don't think that. And she said, no, he's not quite ready for sort of this environment at the minute. And she could see he was easily distracted. I remember one of the first games we played, I put him on, and then he comes to me and goes, oh Ben, I need a wee. It's like, and then, all right, mate. So he'd only been on a matter of seconds, and I was taking him off again so he could have a wee. And then, do you want to come back on? And he was more happy playing with a berry bush that backed onto the field. So it's like, I don't know. I'll give everyone the opportunity, and that's all I can say. But yeah, keeping control of a session is paramount. And I'm thinking back, like I said just a second ago, about my squad size. I have 10 signed. I have 12 now who train, 12 altogether with the 10 squad and 2 extras who train. So looking at it, that is a lot of boys to control. And thinking about it, I would ideally, like, an ideal session for me would be 7 or 8 of them. But I've learned perhaps the hard way that I went too sort of big with a squad, and I'm now training 12 of them. I've gone from sort of 4 or 5 in my first sessions to 12, and it is hard. Like I say, you try to keep them all busy, but also you want to, say, line them up and do some basic passing and stuff like that. But it only takes 1 or 2, you know. You might have 3 or 4 sets of them doing it right, but another set just wellying the ball and messing about and talking about Fortnite and making stupid noises. I get a lot of shouting and screaming as well, and it's just like, boys, like, concentrate, please, come on, let's just get this done. And yeah, so group size is something to bear in mind as a new manager as well. Now, I know as you go through the age groups, it is what it is. You move up to 9 aside, 11 aside. You've got to have bigger squads, but with that comes maybe a little bit more maturity. You add extra coaches to the mix as well. Most teams have a couple of coaches. At the minute, I have sort of just myself, and I have one who's floats where I am. I've said it before, we've got a lot of forces, children and dads and parents, and dads disappear off for 3 months, 6 months, or families move away, and that's just nature of the beast. So I have a couple of dads who have sort of on and off helped me. One does pack up and move on for a few years at the end of the season, and that's where I lose one of my boys. And then another one, he coached a team last year. His boy plays for me, and he didn't want to be fully committed to coaching, so he's away at the minute as well with the forces, but he's due back any minute now, and he'll dip in and out helping me on training sessions. And I'll be honest, I'm an open and honest person, that he, with a bit of a military background, he's so much better at delivering a message than me. Like, I'm open about it. I don't mind saying it. Like, I try my best. I try and get my message across. But he just has that knack. Like, he has that knack of getting instruction right and commanding attention.
Sir, yes, sir. Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair. Sir, yes, sir.
In a way that, I'd grow to want to get to, essentially. I want to get to where he's at. He has the confidence with it. And he's in and around football, a men's team. And like I say, he coached last season. And he's just got away with it. He's very good at it. I think he stepped away because of parents and stuff like that, and flack and that, because he came from the team that he was at last year. I think they're quite high level. I think they're in the top division this year. And he brought his son away from that, and he stepped away from coaching. But yeah, like I said, he's just and I hope he's going to be around a bit more, because when he's about, he's just got a knack for it. Like I say, like some people have just got their way of commanding attention, and I don't have that, but I do it in my own way. And then when we're together, I think it's a good balance, to be fair. So a very knowledgeable person when it comes to his football and drills and stuff like that. And he'll say, well, perhaps we should just tweak it slightly to do that. And it's good. It's good to have a second, pair of eyes. And it's like, I'm always open. Like I'm always open to learning new ideas and new things. So, like I say, when he says, well, perhaps we should just tweak, I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I didn't see that, to be fair. Brilliant, go with it. I know you can you can have coaches and you can have clashes, because you do have people who think their way is the only way. Like, and it comes, you come across it in life. People you work with, people people in your family, they can only think and do things a certain way, and they're not open to change. And it's in coaching as well. You see it in groups all the time, that there's people not open to new ideas. They think their way is the only way. They think they're right all the time. But that's just not my personality. If there's a way to do it better, let's do it. Like, I'm all for it. Like, let's go for it. I'm open to better ways, better teaching. I'm not afraid to admit that I'm new to this, and I am very raw, and I'm learning on the job. I'm getting my badges as I go along. Every session is new. I learn from every game. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? Like I say, so yeah, don't be afraid. Again, probably a great bit of advice for a new coach. You may have your ways. Like I say, I have a way that I want my team to develop, but don't get me wrong. If someone presents me with an idea that's a fantastic idea, I'm not going to turn that down. I'm not. My ego's not driving this. Essentially, my thoughts on this is, I want those group of 10 lads that I've got to become the best that they can be at football. So yeah, ego's not driving it. So be open. So if you're a brand new football coach, be open to new ideas, new thoughts. Listen to people. It doesn't hurt to listen to an idea. So I think that's a fair bit of advice for new coaches. But yeah, so basically what I learned from those early sessions was pretty much how to structure a session and how to sort of judge where my team's at and what we need to do for the next session. And that's my only sort of bit of advice. Again, be truthful to where you're at and where you want to be, and just try and connect the dots. Like, if your team is a bit like mine, where they panic and they've got loads of time and space but they just kick the ball away, try and focus on some sessions where you're doing some basic passing, you may be putting them under a little bit of pressure. Talk to the boys as you're trying to train them and learn as you go on. It will get better and it will grow all the time.
Grassroots Football Facebook posts, moans and rants with Ben.
So I've just talked a little bit there about my training experiences and what I've learned. So I'm going to try and sort of put another little bit of a feature into the podcast where I look at some sort of posts online and bits and bobs like that. Over time, I hope to get some guests on and talk to people. But just for now, I'm just going to resort to, posts online and just read out a bit of information and just have a look at them. And so I came across this earlier today. It's an anonymous post on the Grassroots forum page on Facebook, and it comes from a coach. After some advice, I'm struggling with the training sessions with 8-year-olds. Yep, I know that pain. I'm finding the behaviour of a few really difficult, and it's impacting the full training sessions. Any advice on how I can handle this? At the verge of giving up, as it seems they won't, I think he's meant to put, do anything I have planned. So yeah, I totally get that. I think that I've seen it. Both my boys have been sort of combined a few years now playing football, and I've seen it where there are kids there who I don't think they want to play football, and I feel what this chap's saying, essentially, or chap, man, woman, I feel what they're saying. It does feel like sometimes that parents can put kids in clubs to try and find themselves, and like I said, I'm open with it. I don't mind taking on kids who have never played before, and it's up to them to fall in love with the game. You can't make them. Are they then going home from a training session and playing football in the garden, keep-me-ups? Are they kicking the ball against the wall? Are they playing with their friends at school? You cannot control them things. Or is the only football they're getting your 1 hour session a week and 20 minutes, 30 minutes in a game at the weekend? And are they learning from that? Or are they just there just as their parents want them there? They're trying to get them into something, which again, I totally understand. I have 3 kids. I have floated about with trying to get him into different things. Football is the thing we've landed on, but don't get me wrong, I've tried other things. I tried martial arts with my oldest boy Caleb, didn't stick. He went to it for a few months. Again, didn't take to it. He couldn't get out of my a rear naked chokehold or whatever they call. Choke. He didn't want to learn it at home. He wasn't too interested in it. So then, he fell in love with football, and now it's football all the time. It's football non-stop. It's, Dad, can you come in the garden with me? Can we go down the field? Can we take the balls and go do some shooting? All the time. And you've got to find that level with it. So I understand what this coach is saying. He's struggling with it, and I've been there. I've had, like I said, I had my moments where I've struggled with it. I thought, am I doing the right thing? Do these boys want to be here to play? And ultimately, you just got to give them the opportunity. Now, there was some responses on there. I'm just going to have a quick read through them. A woman called Claire has responded, said, speak with the parents and say they have 2 weeks to listen and do as they are asked, or you have no choice but to ask them to find another team. Why should the kids who want to learn and progress suffer for the few kids that think they can do as they please and ruin it for others? Which, bear in mind, these are 7, 8-year-olds, the chap said. Now, I get that. I totally get what Claire is trying to say. She's trying to say, obviously, a couple of weeks to improve, and if not, they're gone. Now, I think that's a bit extreme myself, but that's got 8 thumbs up and hearts on it, so people do agree with it. Now, I totally get that. I do feel like I said, I said it a few minutes ago, that you can have them 1 or 2 kids who come along and it can derail a session and you can lose control of it fairly quickly. And I do feel bad for the ones who are there just purely to learn. And being a coach, you sort of, like I say, you think, what are the other parents thinking? Are they thinking I'm letting these get away with it, or their boys and girls are not getting the coaching they deserve because of the attention and sort of disruption of 1 or 2? And they may be right, but again, if you can get your balance with it and get on top of it and get it right, then fair enough. Another person called Ren has asked, how are you dealing with misbehaviour? If there aren't any consequences for it, they'll just continue. I've tried some of the suggestions here and they can all work. Firstly, make your sessions engaging and make sure they understand the rules. So that's what I said earlier. Keep them busy. Give them short, sharp instructions. Keep them busy. Keep them working. Quiet when you are talking. Listen and follow instructions and give your best. Again, I say that all the time. Just promise me, give everything. I always say sort of, communication is one of the biggest parts of football. We need to communicate with each other as a team. We need to be able to talk to each other, because then that will enable us to go on, perform, and hopefully, win games. Communication is one of the biggest parts of playing football. So that I drill that into them as always. Listening, what we got to do, communicate. Always communicate. If they're not following the rules, yellow card warning, red card, sit out. So again, I talked about this not so long ago. The other coach, he had a yellow card and red card system, which was pretty much that. Yellow card was a warning, red card was sit out for X amount. And he told the parents that, and he said that has actually helped with behaviour, and he doesn't have to resort to using cards anymore because everyone's there now to play football. So again, that may work. They'll get a message when you start taking action. They'll get the message when you start taking action. If they don't, record it each session and speak to the parents. So yeah, communicate with parents. Parents are not stupid. They can see what's going on when a training session's going on. They know if their child is or isn't being disruptive. So if you just talk to them, say, look, individually as a group, look, if we can't get on top of behaviour, I'm going to introduce a system. Hopefully you'll be on board with the system, and then use the system, and then hopefully after a few weeks that system will help drive out any sort of bad behaviours. Like I say, I'm pretty much on top of mine now. I know how to deal with individual kids. So again, for a new coach, great resource. Go online, have a look. If you're struggling with it, like this person is, like I was early in the season, go seek advice, go seek help. There's plenty out there. Talk to people within your club. What do they do? Like I said, the coach at my club of the other under-8s team, he told me about his system. I didn't feel I need to implement something quite like that. I thought I'd approach it in my own way, and I've got on top of it. So don't be afraid to use the resources and tools that are out there. So yeah, I'm going to have to bring this episode to a close. Hopefully you've enjoyed it and there's been some helpful information in there. I feel I'm getting a little bit better at these podcasts now as the week goes on, and I will start pushing it online and dropping it into groups and hopefully grow as we go on. And I'm thinking about it. I would really love to have some guests on here to talk. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do that, but it'd be nice to hear from other people and their experiences. I think dropping in some posts off Facebook and stuff like that, and have a look at what people say is a great way to do it. But yeah, hopefully there may be some out there who take something away for this, or just listening and enjoying the stories, or can listen along and think, yeah, that's me. That is, like I say, you're not alone. Putting on a session can be tough, but try and make it as easy as you can. Try not to overcomplicate it. Again, it's only football. Always the basics I find is the best. And if you need help, you've got behaviour issues. I mean, again, grassroots football, youth football, behaviour, they're all adolescent. They're all going to be under 16, so they're all going to come with whether it's they've hit the teenage years and they've become opinionated and strong, or like my boy, they've gone to high school and you see a slight change in attitude where all of a sudden they're the big men now, or they're just 7 or 8 year olds who are full of gusto and energy, and they come to a session like a loaded spring. It's all there, the advice and help is out there. So on next week's episode, I'm going to look into money and finance in the world of grassroots football. Where does your money go? Sponsorship, fees, and everything that comes with it. But for now, thank you for listening, and I'll see you again.